Welcome to this webinar on smart cities and climate mitigation. My name is Benno Kepner. I am responsible for the coordination of this project, and I'm very happy and pleased to have you all here today to this webinar series. These webinars have been organized by the Riga Energy Agency, and yeah, we are very happy to have you all here. Just some preliminary remarks from my side before I hand over to today's moderator, Frank, and to the responsible partner, Riga Energy and Nika. Yeah, today we will talk about the topic of governance related to monitoring and evaluation. And as I said, it's a larger project which comprises 4 countries: Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Germany. And the project is really intended to give room for exchange on various topics related to smart city, sustainable development in cities. And today we will talk about monitoring and evaluation. If you're interested in this project, please look at our website, balticsmartcity.com. You'll find several publications and also recordings of other webinars from different partners. So yeah, you're very much invited to look at the website. And without further ado, I will hand over to Frank, today's moderator, and he will just briefly talk about yeah, moderation for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Benno, and welcome also from my side. My name is Frank Rage. I'm supporting here this project with the moderation and have been doing so also in the earlier webinars. Also, this one should have been a dialogue, a physical meeting in Riga. Unfortunately, we can't be with you today, but at least Nika and also myself choose a background with a view to the city of Riga. So mentally we are with you, and I hope that we can bring the spirit of Riga a little bit to the audience. Some technicalities before we get started. We will have a chat function. You can post your questions and comments along the webinar, and we will come back to it after the presentations or in the discussion at the end of the day. And we will also have some polls in between the talks so that we ask you also to give your feedback right away. And well, other than that, I think we will have the next slide and look on the agenda of today. Very exciting agenda. We have 5 speakers from 5 different cities and from 3 different countries, bringing in their experience towards the topic of monitoring in the area of governance. Before I hand over to Nika for a short intro to today, let's check if the poll is working well, and let's have the first poll. The first question to the audience, which would be a very simple one. Actually, it's about the sector you are working in. From which kind of organization are you coming? Please. So it looks like we have about half and half, public, municipality, and academia people present here today. Thank you very much for this. And that means it works well. You are all with us, and let's get started. And I hand over to Nika from the Riga Energy Agency for a short intro. And thanks, Nika, and your team for the very good preparation of this webinar today.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Frank. And on behalf of the city of Riga, I'm very pleased to welcome you today at our 4th round of webinars on smart city. So we went through the whole planning process of the smart cities, and now we are at the final stage discussing monitoring and evaluation of smart cities, as already two of my colleagues managed to mention before my address. Yeah, as you have seen what Frank showed you on the screen, today we have prepared for you an amazing journey across different European cities who all have stated smart city development as their key priorities and have very ambitious goals towards becoming climate smart cities. So we will start with the northern city of Aarhus from Denmark. Then we will see how three Latvian cities, Riga, Jelgava, and Cēsis, are doing with introduction of smart cities monitoring systems. And we will end our virtual tour in Munich, in the city which has been a partner in the project Smarter Together. So they will share their experience from this project. So once again, thank you. Thank you for being part of our journey today. And I wish you a very inspiring day and nice findings for your further work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nika. Before we head over to the presenters, we have two short questions to build the ground, let's say, also to the first topic. We'll have two polls, and the first one, which will be up now, is about, does your city already have a smart coordination group established? So you have one choice here, yes or almost, I don't know. So how well are you already in the process within your municipality? Okay, so the majority has one or is at least under development. So thanks for that. That's a good base, I guess. So the second question following that one would be, has your city set up a system to monitor and evaluate the governance process of the smart city development? So this is, of course, the topic of today, and let's see if you are already active in the monitoring and evaluation. Yeah, okay, so some actually have, but majority haven't or is in the process of setting up something similar. So this is exactly what we are going to talk about today. So that fits very well. And with that, knowing that, I think we can get started. And I see that our first presenter is now also with us. Henrik Müller is the first one. He's from the city of Aarhus, the Chief Executive Climate Officer, and he will talk about monitoring and evaluation. Why is it important? Henrik, can you hear us? Can you start your presentation? The floor would be yours.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. I'm just trying to share my screen. Should be in a moment.
There's this green button in the middle. Yes, exactly.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Just try to start the presentation. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we work with monitoring climate mitigation and green transition in the city of Aarhus. My name is Henrik D.H. Müller. I'm the Chief Climate Officer in the city of Aarhus, and my job is to help our city council pushing on the green transition and reaching a target of the total society to become carbon neutral in the year 2030, so only 10 years from now. And we've been working the last 12 years on green transition. When I talk about green transition, I really mean it, because when we started working on climate mitigation, we had a lot of focus on data and trying to figure out where's the largest carbon emission, what sources did we need to look into, and then finding the initiatives that could cut carbon emission the most for the lowest costs. And that has been very effective until now. But now we've taken all what you could call the low-hanging fruits, and we have come very far in seeing what is necessary for a city. So we have actually changed our point of view, because what we see now is there's a lot of things that needs to be done that does not have anything to do with carbon reduction, but is necessary and essential to actually creating the city that we need to create. And why do I talk about creating a new city? Well, I do that because if we are to reach the goals set by the United Nations, we need to stop use fossil fuels. And the city today and the whole world today is 100% dependent on fossil fuels. There's not a single process or a single thing that we do and we depend on that does not have fossil fuels somewhere in the process. So we need to change the whole world. We need to change the whole city. And there's a lot of pieces in this jigsaw that we have to put together that does not have anything to do with carbon reduction, but is necessary to reach the target of creating a city that runs on 100% renewable energy. For instance, the people that live in the city, they need new competences, they need new skills. For instance, the companies in Aarhus, when we ask them what is the greatest barrier for you to actually change your company to become green, they say lack of skilled personnel. So education is one of the pieces in the puzzle that we need to address. But there's a lot of other things. For instance, the energy infrastructure. It turns out that even though we can cut our existence use of energy by 1/3, we will still need double as much electricity in 2030 than we have today. And the power grid are not capable of taking up all that electricity. And we're looking into an excess cost of 100 billion euros just to put up all the extra energy production and infrastructure as cables and transformer stations and stuff like that, and storage facilities, worst case. So how we reach the targets is really important. So we see that it's very important to paint the picture of what we need in the future and actually trying to set the specific targets. When I talk about United Nations as a overall target, it's because that is what our city council looks into and looks up to. And they're actually telling us that to reach the 1.5 degrees level, we need to be aware that carbon dioxide actually accumulates in the atmosphere. So it doesn't disappear by itself. So every time we put something into the atmosphere, it will stay there. And therefore, if we want to reach the 1.5 degree target, we need to stop putting more carbon into the atmosphere. And the target is very clear. IPCC tells the United Nations that by 2030, we need to have cut the use of fossil fuels by half globally. And latest 2050, we need to have a total global stop of use of fossil fuels. And if that was not enough, IPCC tells us that we have actually used our quota of carbon in the atmosphere to hold 1.5 degrees. So we need to take out nearly all the carbon emission, all the carbon out of the atmosphere again to the 2080 level to reach the 1.5 degree target. So we have an overshoot that we need to take care of, and it will not disappear by itself. We need to do it as humans. So as you can see, speeds matter. So that is one very good reason for monitoring, because we need to take care of the speed. We need to make sure that we reach the target by time. Another thing is that, as I told you, the city, the buildings and the infrastructure are not prepared for a future with 100% renewable energy in all sectors. And the cost could be up to 100 billion euros just in Aarhus alone to prepare the energy infrastructure to actually handle 100% renewable energy. That, of course, is worst case. But even if just a small part of that comes true, it's a very large cost. Some infrastructure is also essential at specific moments in time. For instance, just one example, we have new buildings in the city of Aarhus that are not prepared for electrical vehicles. So when some people living in those move into these new houses, and they of course want to buy a Tesla or an electrical vehicle, they have the problem that the infrastructure cannot handle an electrical vehicle. There's no way to plug in the electrical vehicle. So they have to dig up the whole street, dig up the parking lot, just to put up a charging station for an EV, even in new buildings. And the cost of doing that is 5 times as high as if you had prepared for it, putting in empty tubes that you could put in the cables. So the speed matter, but also the path that we choose matters. We need to design the transition, and we need to take care of what pieces in the puzzle we put together, and what order we do that. So that is another reason for monitoring the green transition. And in Aarhus, we have put up a monitoring regime that is also a guiding and a management regime. We have 3 different levels. The highest level, of course, is our carbon budget, which is both scope 1, 2, and 3. And for you who work with climate mitigation will know what the scopes are, but I won't go into that here. But of course, we look at the carbon emission because that is the end goal, both on municipality as a corporation, but also the municipality as a geographic location. But carbon emission does not necessarily, and monitoring that does not necessarily say anything about, are we going fast enough? Are we doing the right stuff? Because people working in the municipality or citizens or companies cannot relate to carbon reduction, carbon emission. It doesn't give them any pictures in the head of what they need to do. So we have also made change indicators, and the change indicators are specific must-win battles. And this is the pieces in the puzzle that I talked about. For instance, we have some hard change indicators. For instance, how many EVs do we need to have in 5 years' time and 10 years' time from now? And when we put these targets up, people can much easily relate to what they need to do. So the ratio of EVs in the town is much more specific than just carbon emission from transport sector. But we also have soft change indicators. For instance, what is the norms and the knowledge in the public? And we make surveys on what does people mean and know about green transition, and what are their standpoints. And we monitor how they change over time as we try to actually affect the way that people see the green transition and their knowledge. But we also have very specific, and that's on 3rd level, program management, because this is a very large program. We have over 300 stakeholders, and we have over 100 specific initiatives in projects that we are working on. So it's a very complex program. So we have a whole program set up where we have a monitoring system where we look on status on projects, milestones. We also monitor risks and opportunities and share knowledge. but we also look on specific effects or gains, you could call it. How many gains do we actually achieve on the way? Not only according to the change indicators, but also carbon reduction, but also other gains, because when we want to change the world, we also want to take care of all the other issues in a sustainable development. All the other development goals also need to be addressed. So we also look at how we also improve economy, how we improve export of goods, how we improve employment, how we improve biodiversity and stuff like that as we go along. So we have this spectrum of course, the end goal is reducing carbon emission, but we need to monitor on different level on change indicators, but also specific project milestones. And a project milestone in this case could, for instance, be the construction of bike lanes. And the end goal, of course, is to get, the change indicators is how many citizens take their bike to work. And the end goal, of course, is to reduce the carbon emission from the transport sector. So this is how we work with monitoring, and why we think this is very important. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you very much, Henrik. A very impressive case from the city of Aarhus, especially the 3 levels of monitoring. I guess we will look into and come back to. Just a quick look to the chat. There is no immediate question, but we have a question to the audience, actually, which goes a bit in the same direction as these monitoring levels. The next question comes up. Just a moment. Here it comes. Which of the following aspects your smart city governance system includes? So which levels? There are 3 possibilities. Governance of smart city development core processes, so the day-to-day management, or is it already on the smart city monitoring processes, or even on the political decision-making level? And let's wait a moment for the results. Okay, we can see that majority is unsure, but for the rest, it's rather equally distributed to all 3 levels, which goes along with the experience and the systems cities have already or not already implemented. So from the day-to-day management up to the political level. Thank you. With this, we would move on to our second presentation, coming to Riga. And we have Juris Grisans with us from the City Development Department of the City of Riga. And he will talk about the urban development, data monitoring, and evaluation practices in the City of Riga. Juris.
Yes, thank you very much, Frank. So I will share my screen. Okay. Okay, that's it. So greetings, dear participants of the webinar. My name is Juris Grisans, and I work as Senior Project Manager in Riga City Council City Development Department. And it's my pleasure to be here today and to present Riga City experience. And so within my presentation, I would like to present 3 examples from Riga City experience. First of all, I would like to give an introduction to Riga City strategy monitoring system. Secondly, I would like to share our experience with disclosing environmental data. And finally, I would like to introduce a look at the future. How do we elaborate development program of Riga for new period? And what does it mean data evaluation, monitoring, exactly for this reason? So let's start with the first one. Riga City Strategy Monitoring System was established in 2010. So
Juris, sorry, we don't see the presentation yet.
Sorry. I will try one more time. Oops.
Yeah, that looks better.
Let's load big. Okay, so
You Maybe you switch to the presentation mode, and it's a big
okay.
full screen.
So I'm sorry. So let's start with the first one. And the first one, as I have mentioned, yes, it's a brief presentation of Riga City evaluation and monitoring system. So as I have mentioned, yes, the system was established and start to operate in 2010, and the system is used for the supervision and checking resources, actions, and results, of course, our progress. And the main aim of this system is to promote effective and efficient, of course, decision making. In the focus of the strategy monitoring system in the city of Riga are two spatial development planning documents, and its sustainable development strategy of Riga until 2030 and development program of Riga for 2014-2020. The starting point for evaluation and monitoring of Riga city development is a set of 4 long-term development objectives defined in a strategy, 19 action directions defined in development program, 187 indicates, and 112 tasks. And the main task of the strategy monitoring system in the city, first of all, of course, to provide supervision and evaluation of the implementation of 2 above-mentioned spatial planning documents, to provide circulation of information between all involved municipality units, and finally, of course, to ensure reporting of the implementation of the progress of strategy and development program. And
let me just, sorry to interrupt you again. Would it be possible to go in the full screen modus so we can?
Yeah, probably right now.
There are some details on it, so it's easier to read.
Thank you for assistance, Frank. So, Riga City development, yes, monitoring and evaluation process, yes, consists of 3 basic steps, and the overall manager and the designer of this process is Riga City Council City Development Department. And the step number 1 is data collection and internal assessment. So, and how do we implement this step? Every year at the end of the December, we prepare and send to all 29 institutions and structural units of Riga City Council an online questionnaire of strategy monitoring system forms, and the purpose of this survey is to collect data about the progress of the development indicators, to collect an information about the actions in Riga City neighborhoods, to find out any change in the national policies within the framework of 1 year, and also to find out and to monitor the execution of action plan and investigation in the plan of the investment as well. It's the first one. The second one, to find out the satisfaction of Riga city residents. City Development Department implement face-to-face resident survey, and residents from 58 from all neighborhoods of the city of Riga are asked about all 19 action directions in the city. For example, are asked about the education services, healthcare services, mobility, environment, and etc. It's the second one. The third one, to assess the quality and accessibility of services provided by the Riga city and also by the Riga city municipality. City Development Department also involve experts and also implement evaluation of 23 services in 58 neighborhoods. For example, availability and quality of children playgrounds, availability and quality of green areas, availability and quality of cycling infrastructure, libraries, etc. And of course, in addition, also external sources of information are used to evaluate development of Riga city. For example, data provided by Central Statistical Bureau of Latvia, an Office of Citizenship and Migration Affairs, etc., etc. After this internal collection and assessment, we go to the step number 2, and it's data external assessment. In order to obtain an independent professional opinion after data is collected and internal assessment is implemented, Riga City Council invite 5 external experts, 1 from economics, 1 from social sector, 1 from urban environment, 1 from non-governmental organization, and 1 from government sectors, to evaluate collected data, to find out and to identify these basic trends, to make conclusion, and of course to offer a recommendation for the future activities. And the step number 3, after this data is collected within 2 previous steps, and these data are summarized in a form of report. And usually we have this annual progress report, 4 years progress report, and also environmental impact assessment report as well. If we are talking about evaluation and monitoring data sharing, so we use four 4 approaches. In the first case, the focus group is the local government. So after evaluation and monitoring data are summarized in a form of report, of course, first it's presented to the Riga City councillors at the meeting of City Development Committee, and after that to all councillors at Riga City Council meetings. After discussion, the report usually is approved by Riga City Council. The second group is internal stakeholders. So usually every year in the December, City Development Department organized meeting with presentation and discussion and invite to this meeting representatives of all 29 structural units and institutions who have been participated in data collection, evaluation, and report elaboration as well. The third focus group is external stakeholders. Usually, it's residents, students, researchers, mass media, etc. After urban development monitoring progress report is approved by Riga City Council, it is published on the web page of the strategy monitoring system, publicly available. And the focus group is local, regional, national, and international society. And the last data sharing method, we call it ad hoc use. Basically, it means that the data collected within the process of evaluation and monitoring are filtered, selected, and used for some specific needs. For example, for participation at the conference, at the seminars, for the meeting with the local residents, for the meeting with the non-governmental organizations, for example, for the meeting with mass media, etc. It's the first one. The second one, I would like briefly to present our experience exactly with disclosing environmental data. And here I would like to mention that existing maintenance and development of existing strategy monitoring system allowed Riga City to focus more attention exactly on collection and disclosing environmental data. And that's why also Riga City municipalities start to cooperate with such international organization as Carbon Disclosure Project. And city started to cooperate with these institutions in order to manage its environmental impact, of course, to evaluate Riga City performance with environmental issues, to learn from other city experience and good examples, and to find, of course, area of opportunity to become CO2 neutral city in the near future. To centralize this environmental data and also to track climate adaptation progress, Riga City started to collect and to report to the CDP in 2012. And as we can see in 2018, city was scored by C level awareness, and in last year, 2019, it was reported also already by A leadership. So to complete the CDP cities questionnaire, City Development Department collect and also evaluate data on, for example, incorporation of sustainability goals and targets in the master planning for the city. Also data on climate risk and vulnerability, citywide emissions, for example, data on emission reduction actions within the city, on opportunities related with climate change for the city, for some specific stakeholders or to the city in general, data about energy, transport, food, waste, water security, etc., etc. And usually this environmental data collection, analysis, and monitoring process, we organize the disclosure process, we organize in 5 main steps. So we start this process with collection of annual CDP cities questionnaire, reporting guidance and questionnaire changes. The step number 2, we try to allocate our work and we organize it by CDP questionnaire sections, by CDP questionnaire questions, and also by identification sources of information, internal or external. Basically, we are trying to identify main stakeholders who we need to involve in this process of data collection. And step number 3 is exactly this data collection process. So we launch phone calls, we write information request letters, we describe the basic idea and also the involvement of the stakeholders, and we start to collect data from all stakeholders, internal, in Riga City municipality, and also some external, for example, public institutions, governmental institutions. So the stage number 4 is incorporation. We export CDP questionnaire to the Word file and start to integrate all data that we can do by ourselves, or we use information received from the stakeholders. And after that, after this final version is ready, so we reviewed This final version, we use this 4-eyes approach. So at least 2 persons review this final version of the questionnaire. And after that, also this file is submitted for the acceptance of the head of strategic management board. And after we receive an acceptance, so we submit this stage number 5, we submit the Riga City response using CDP online response system. In order to show what is a stakeholder's input with data into the disclosure process, I have prepared these graphs, and as you can see from this point, we have share of input. We have 3 options. So as you can see, there are some questions marked with the blue color, for example, introduction section, governance and data management, adaptation section. So these are the section for 100% of input by ourselves, City Development Department. Option number 2, we have a mix of input by City Development Department and stakeholders, where we can see these both colors, the yellow color and the blue also. And the case number 3, for example, chapter number 14, water security, or for example, waste. Here, yes, we need help of external and internal stakeholders for 100%. And finally, I would like to know that, of course, that collected data and experience served also as a basis and also as a starting point for the new activities, for new work. And exactly right now, we elaborate a new development program of the city of Riga for 2021-2027. And just some short presentation. So, as usual, when we start something new, yes, sure, we face challenges. Also, elaboration of new development program brings us some challenges. We need to understand correctly the amount of data and information that we need to design a new development program. We need to find out type of data and information, again, for the design. We need also to identify stakeholders and what kind of information they can bring to the design. So the need to look for new approaches to data collection also is driven by new approaches also to design a new development program. And therefore, since 2018, since we have started to elaborate new development program, we have organized and implemented several public engagement and also data collection activities. For example, public sector and non-governmental organization workshop on the way to the joint. So the main aim of this workshop was to bring together different stakeholders and to identify different wants and needs and how to harmonize, how to balance all these needs in the future in the context of the development of new development program. The next one was Riga City Residents online and offline survey, and it was available for completion both physically at 5 locations of Riga City Council Visitor Recruitment Center and also electronically. And as a result, more than 2,000 residents helped us to identify key development priorities for the city of Riga for the next planning period. The third one, it was Riga Young People Urban Planning Forum Runat Riga, to talk in Riga. And this forum provided an opportunity to involve young people, especially young people, to participate in the planning process, to share their ideas, their opinion, and also to bring and to present their solution about Riga city development in the near or also in the long future. And the last one, 9 thematic working groups were set up to compile and to systemize all data received in the previous activities. And within these thematic working groups, also representatives of the municipality, of the nation, different national bodies, and also non-governmental organizations, they come and they work together in order to find out what will be the design, what will be the task, what will be the activities for each of the priorities for the new development program. The next one, basically, when we are talking about data transformation for new development program, of course, we understand that the high quality relevant information is fundamental basis for new development program. Of course, we realize as many other cities, also Riga city right now face new challenges, for example, COVID-19 and also climate change and also digitalization, sustainable mobility, etc. At the same time, we try to focus attention to the European Green Deal, to the Latvian Sustainable Development Strategy, etc., etc. And therefore, we are trying to focus a lot of attention on the use of existing data and also on identification of new data, of new indicators, how to come more successfully from the existing development program to a new program, how to come from these 19 action directions to the 9 priorities. But at the same time, we decided right now, we have ideas that we need, yes, more numbers, a bigger number of indicators to evaluate and to monitor the progress. So already now we can see that in new development program also an increasing attention will be given to the environmental issues and also to the climate change mitigation, adaptation issues. And right now also 2 of 9 development priorities will focus attention directly to the environmental issues. And it will be priority number 2, urban environment for promotion quality of life, and also priority number 3, good environment quality and resilient urban ecosystem for climate change mitigation. And at my last slide, I have summarized the links to this all above mentioned information sources. And of course, you are welcome to have a look and to get some ideas, to learn something from Riga City experience. And finally, yes, I would like to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Judith. Very impressive, all the different processes you have implemented, also the all the stakeholder engagements organized. We would have actually 2 questions for the audience related to this presentation. The first one will come up now. It's about, does your city promote data-driven governance decision-making? I hope it shows up in a sec. Here you go. Do you agree that data decision-making could help to make city government smarter? This is almost 100% feedback to the positive side, that it does make it smarter. And the next question right after. Here it comes. Does your city promote data-driven governance decision-making? So we'll see that it is about half and half, I can see. So far, so the intentions are there, but it's not implemented yet. And actually, I think we have a third one related here. This is, does your city have set up a smart city data collection and innovation database? And I can see that this is under development or not existing yet, but I hope that with this input from today and all these cases, this might change in the near future. So thanks for this feedback to this presentation. And we're coming to the next one, which is Jelgava city. It's Ivo Berkholz from the company Smart Meter, and talking about the energy management system of the city of Jelgava. Ivo, please start your presentation.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's great. That's great. Okay, whatever. Is it okay? It's full screen?
Full screen, very good. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm gonna tell you and show something, some details of one portion of smart city, which is energy management system. particularly for city Jelgava. Have to say before I start about energy management system, Jelgava city has a very large and very complex system of under name of smart city. It's monitored starting from street covering and all the documentations and ending with energy management and so on. So, but today I will explain just about energy management, because I'm energy manager of the Jelgava city. So I will go deeper in details about data and the energy management system itself. So for the starters, some theoretical questions and things. Why should every city introduce and develop and use energy management system? Because energy costs are a large proportion of the city budget. There are very different needs and very different buildings in the for each city, that starting from kindergartens and ending with just administration buildings. And there are many people with different skills and knowledge involved in these buildings to control data usage, the control energy usage, and so on. So there need to be overall monitoring, overall analysis, and overall management of these things with a common goal to decrease the energy costs and those leave smaller footprint in the ecology. What is Jelgava energy management system? We have 37 buildings. We have 6,600 street lights. We are analyzing this monthly, hourly. I will show this later on this presentation. We are making internal audits. We are making technical inspections time by time, and almost on everyday basis we are creating detailed analysis of the consumption. Main consumption NPIs are consumptions per month, per year. We are analyzing heat consumption per degree days to compare different periods of the year by using the outside temperature. We are analyzing electricity per square meter to compare buildings with different area. Time by time, we are developing and doing training and awareness raising for people in the buildings, for technical people who are turning something on and something off and switching switches and pumping pumps and so on. For those time by time need to be not this year, maybe like but in normal years we shall gather in one room to speak about it. Not 2020, of course. Let's hope 2021 we can gather again in one room. So moving forward about some theory, but still important theory. To identify the problem, we need monitoring, inspection. To describe the problem, we need on-site inspection. We have to make calculations. We have to make evaluation of the problem, and then we have to decide that we are going to solve this problem. Then we are preparing the suggestion for the city budget to allow some funds for solving a particular problem, and we need decision to do it. And then afterwards, just implement the previous steps to solve the problem and to control the process of the solving. Main issues about the energy management system in Jelgava, and I believe in other many cities as well. Metering is always not sufficient. You can always meter more and more things, more and more objects and sub-objects, and we have been doing some hallway electricity consumption monitoring. We have been doing some sport hall metering of the electricity in the sport halls, but it is like some extra doings. But the main issue is you need to meter all and every point of consumption and in order to create as better data model as possible. One like similar to metering is lack of dynamic data of climate in premises. In order to get information what we are doing, how we are, for what we are spending our resources, and how we are achieving our results. By results, I mean temperature, humidity, maybe CO2 in the premises, especially for schools, kindergartens, and so on. This is very must do to make available data daily, even maybe the momentaneous data of the climate in premises. Motivation of the personnel, this is issue always. I want to spend some time today about talking about that. Information on how to use equipment, especially ventilation systems and some smart automation systems that are built in the buildings. They are there, but nobody knows how to use it and how to use it efficiently. This is issue object by object, and of course it's one of the largest things is technical conditions itself. I mean, windows, roofs, walls, and so on. This is not the end. This is just the end of the presentation. I will switch. Do you see the other screen right now, or nothing changed?
See your last slide. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Just a second. Just a second. How it is now?
Now I see some graphs. Yes.
Okay, good. So as I mentioned in the start, this was some theory. Now I will show some portion of what we are doing and how we are analyzing data. First, what I will show will be the energy consumption, but just electricity consumption and heat energy consumption. But what we are seeing now is electricity. Sorry, it's in Latvian, but I will hope, because it's on, like, it's our instrument. It's not for presentation, but still, I believe there's no many names to translate. So I think it's okay. Just a second. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah. First, I wanted to show that we are monitoring and observing in terms of Jelgava city map. So we have a point for every object in the energy management system, and to understand, to get visual introduction what and how much we are spending in this screen, we are seeing electricity consumption for each object what we have in our energy management system. And when we just go month by month, we can see how the structure changes. This is of course this is just a visual thing, but still it's one important visual thing when in terms of if we want to show somebody what and where our consumption is, it's fixed to the consumption is made in particular buildings, not in city and large, but in exact buildings, and we can see visually which school or which object is spending more or less. Now I wanted to talk about electricity. Yeah, but before I continue, I wanted to say that this data about electricity consumption for all objects and heat consumption for all objects are coming, I would say, almost automatically from resource providers, from two resource providers, one which provides electricity and one which provides heat energy. And from these meters, data is coming almost automatically. We can for electricity we can see last month. For heat energy we can see yesterday. And yeah, so returning to electricity consumption, what we are doing and what I'm showing today right now is how we are doing based on every day what we are seeing each object. For example, let's say one particular school, we can see I wanted to show one thing. Remember the March 2020, where there was at least in Jelgava there was interruption of school year because of and when what we wanted to analyze from energy management. If there is no children in the school anymore, does this every school and every kindergarten which are practically closed, do they consume zero or almost zero consumption? And there we can see every school in very dynamic way of seeing it by just choosing every each school what I want to choose, and answered myself the question if they did what they had to do about switching off something before leaving. One more thing we can see every day, hourly based energy management, energy consumption. This we are using to compare school by itself, how it is using. I call it zero consumption, meaning some holidays or nighttime. For each school, for each object, there is some traditional nighttime or zero consumption because of some circulation pumps or ventilation systems or security systems or surveillance systems. So there is never zero as a number, but there is normal zero. And this is one more thing which I'm analyzing. if this normal 0 is not increasing. And if it is increasing in some object, I'm talking with the people on the site, what they did, what do you did differently? Why your nighttime or holiday consumption is growing, or maybe and vice versa. If I see that nighttime consumption is decreasing, I'm asking, what did he switched off? And maybe you can switch it off the next time as well. So this is what I'm doing on almost everyday basis. Then on returning to some starting point, time by time.
Come to an end after one more example, or?
Sorry?
Would you come to an end maybe after one more example?
Yeah, okay, just if I should come to end, then I will just show you one more thing. This is heat energy, and we are comparing heat energy by outside temperature, and just what can I say for the end is this year 2020 March we were using in general by, I would say, by 10% less heat energy comparing to outside temperature than in previous years. The yellow line is the 2019, and we can always, again, same case, we can go deeper in every school and every object to see and do this again and again. Yeah, I agree that there is much to say, but maybe I can finish and then answer some questions if there are some. My aim was to show fast and introduction what we are doing in Jelgava.
Thank you very much, Ivo. Very impressive. Also the practical examples of the tool you're using. And actually, that is the first question from one participant. Which tool this is? Is it an own development, or is it a available standard tool?
We are doing it on the basis of Microsoft Power BI. This is Microsoft Power BI desktop version, and right now we are seeing Microsoft Power BI web version for reporting.
Okay, thank you. And one more question came in. As you mentioned, you measure heat and electricity consumption in every building, and the comment was, why not measuring this per person to kind of indicate that the bigger the buildings are, the more they consume. Of course, that was an intentionally comment, but what do you say to this?
We had this ENPI for per person. We had in previous years. Then we realized that it's not really showing what we want to see, because the school itself doesn't decrease or increase because of number of people inside. Of course, there are influence and direct influence of the number of people in the building, but still there are a large portion of fixed costs for fixed consumption. And that's why we just as unused ENPI, it was deleted.
Okay, so thanks for that. So if you would finish your presentation, we would come to the next. And before that, we'll have a question again to the audience related to this presentation about monitoring. So has there been a monitoring platform established in your city already? The question will show up in a sec. Here it comes. And while this is running, I may introduce already our next speaker. This is Sane Głębicka from Cesis municipality in Latvia, and she will talk about data and data analysis, future perspectives in governance framework. And I'll see that most of the participants or cities and through the participants so far have none such digital platform for the monitoring. 2/3 at least. Okay, so we would come to the next presentation as already introduced. Sane, please share your screen and start your presentation.
Hello, everyone. So first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Zane, and I'm working in Cesis Municipality's Council as data analysis specialist. I have been in this position for about 3 months. Therefore, today, I will present you information that mainly shows a reflection about our current situation, as well as our future directions and perspectives in a governance framework. For listeners who may not know about Cesis, I will give a constructive insight about this municipality. So it's one of administrative units in the Vidzeme region, which is located about 19 kilometers away from our capital Riga, with an area size of 172 square kilometers and estimated population around 16,000 people. And as you can all see, Cesis can be defined as a small municipality, and it's true. But we as an organization think that we are innovative and also progressive. And because of that, we wanted to pursue another goal, and this time focus on the foundation itself. Therefore, our most important goal is to achieve knowledge management. So for now, we are starting from the bottom with its fundamental element, data. And we want to systematically collect them and make them publicly available. Also creating a model of government that is as adapted as possible and as transparent as needed. The term open data refers to data that are easily accessible, that are free to use, that can be modified, and that can be shared by anyone. And as known, a lot of information and data are held and produced by the public sector. And with all kinds of new technologies, this magnitude of data is only growing. And it's determined that data contains high added value, providing information that is comprehensive and also important to society, thereby opening data for public accessibilities. These data provide options of reuse. But what does it actually mean? It means that they can be used for a new purpose, which wasn't the original aim for them. And these data can be reused by citizens, by businessmen, and as well as by the government itself to improve social, economical, and environmental aspects. In this way, creating also a new data life cycle that mainly consists of these 5 steps. But speaking specifically about Cesis municipality, we are initiating the first few steps to manage our data infrastructure. But actually, for now, it's somehow challenging to collect all organizations' data. And the main reasons that I can tell are fixed mindsets and a lack of understanding that open data isn't a test to evaluate employees' work quality, or that financial data isn't a sensitive information, because we as a government manage the public budget. And because of these challenges, we have started to develop our open data strategy that will justify three main issues. Why do we do it? How do we do it? And what data do we open? And yeah, why we need to open the data? Data is a raw material that can be used as a tool to inspect, to detect relationships between other data, and analyzes all kinds of situations. And we believe that this is the way we can improve the delivery of services and interactions with stakeholders, as well as provide opportunity to develop new business ideas. And this overall provides new level of participation, transparency, and collaboration. And also, accordingly, in the future, this is a tool that can help future heads of the institutions or organization to face many challenges and make anticipated smarter decisions. And as of known, CESI's government already uses this approach for decision making. However, we want to develop it furthermore. For now, I'm like a data collector. I structure and also convert them to open data formats, such as CSV or doc files. And for publishing, we use Latvian Open Data Portal. And until now, we have created 10 data sets under our organization's profile that include wide information about our social department, cities Wi-Fi router connections, indicators of educational institutions, and other more data sets. But I can say that this is just the beginning. In the future, of course, we will publish many more data sets that are held by organizations' departments. However, one of most important data are spatial. So we have started to convert these data to make them suitable for geographic information system. For example, I have converted road and tree inventory data, and these data we display, for data display, we use a free and open source geographic information system known as Quantum GIS. But to publish this information, we cooperate with a company named SunGIS that develops our personalized web application and also provide diverse GIS models. But for now, our plan is to arrange data to increase efficiency in employees' daily work, and then later publish spatial data with open access for anyone that is interested. And our future perspectives are open with broad opportunities, and we know that this path is a long-term measure, and this is not sprint distance, and that's why we need to be patient, because there will be no visible results in the near future, but hopefully our invested work will give expected results, and we will see how data have developed organizational capabilities and also help to reach new horizons for development. Thank you.
Anna, thank you very much for your insights to the case of CESIS. There was a question right away in the chat about if you collaborate for this analysis with universities or research institutions.
Excuse me, I can't hear you correctly.
Oh, sorry, I try again. There was a question in the chat if for your data analysis, if you cooperate with universities or research institutions.
We cooperate with them science institution, and we cooperate also with someone who can we cooperate with the science institution.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And one question to the audience in that respect, to all the data analysis we were just hearing about, would be the next poll. Is the evaluation of the smart city governance in your city based on qualitative or quantitative data? So the hard facts or the soft facts, what kind of data you integrate in monitoring, at least for those who have such data monitoring established already. Oh, it's well, now it's moving more to the quantitative data, what I expected. More as this is of course the first step to take and more result oriented, and the qualitative data is of course more process oriented and more difficult to collect. So 80% quantitative data. Thanks for the feedback. And we're moving to our last presentation, moving away from Latvia, coming to Germany, to the city of Munich. And we have Felix Hermann with us from the Department of Urban Planning of the city of Munich. Please start your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. You can hear me?
Yes, very good.
Okay, perfect. 1 second. Okay.
Maybe you.
So
yeah.
thank you very much for the invitation. I thought the presentations so far were very interesting because it seems we all share the same challenges regarding climate change, or the question about how we handle open data and so on. I've brought 2 slides with me for you today, and I'm going to tell you about monitoring, what we did in the project Smarter Together. So the project started almost 5 years ago, and this is what we wrote into the project proposal, and what we implemented over the runtime of the project. And I will also talk about experiences and what we are doing now and how we are already evolving and developing further. What you can see here is a screenshot of our analysis dashboard. Behind this analysis dashboard, we have the Urban Data Platform to store, organize, process the data, and work with the data. And then obviously we have a web interface and a dashboard to access all the information. We have an access concept because what I think in comparison to the Baltic Sea region is that the culture of interchanging data or open data is very different. In Germany, we are not at the point cultural mindset, I would say, that sharing data is very common. It's still more the culture of this is my data and you have to pay for it and so on. So I think there's a big difference, also what I've noticed so far from the presentations. So we have a access concept, and then we have, besides the analysis dashboard with the web face and transparency dashboard, which I consider as a very important thing to have, because on the transparency dashboard, we explain to all citizens or whoever is concerned and interested in it, what we are doing, what data we are collecting, what we are doing with the data, and so on. Because we actually started setting up the monitoring system during this scandal with Facebook, and like 2 years ago. And what we found out in workshops with citizens is that there's absolutely no problem for them to give any data to Facebook, Google, and so on. But then if you show up as local authority and you put up a sensor or whatever, and you try to collect some data, people really get reluctant and they want to know what's going on. So this is one of the experiences we made. What you can see here is the excuse me. Sorry. What you can see here is the limit of the project area, and the monitoring system refers not only to the project area, but is also limited to the runtime and of the project and the project activities, which we consider as very important because we really started from the scratch, from ground up, had not really many experiences with modern 21st century like monitoring, and it was a very good thing for us that we did not have to set up a monitoring for the whole city right away. So we could use this project and this project area and the project activities as a sort of playground and try to find out what works well and what not. So we have three main sources or basically four main sources of data. We have the key performance indicators, KPIs, for example, about energetic refurbishment of buildings, number of square meters refurbished, and so on. These indicators are from the project proposal 6 years ago, 7 years ago, are not very dynamic, and we have to insert them insert them manually. Then we have the mobility stations. You can see the mobility stations with the small little symbols, the cars and bikes. And we have delivery boxes set up. In total, we have 8 mobility stations in the project area. And we are monitoring the data there too. And this is a good example of what I just said. The data there belongs to the companies who are running the bikes and cars of the mobility stations. The bike company is a 100% city-owned company, but still we have problems regarding interchanging data, using the data due to legal reasons, and also I think due to cultural mindset about how to deal with data. So we have to also insert the data from their data platform and our data platform in a manual process, more or less. And because Ivo, I think you mentioned what was going on during Corona lockdown, and we did the same analysis, and it was interesting to see that the use of public bikes, e-bikes, or sharing e-bikes and car sharing was actually going up instead of going down. Then we have IoT and sensor data from intelligent light poles or light posts. And we have from next month on dynamic data from energy or from energy dynamic data from energy of buildings, the use of energy of buildings. We will have dynamic data. And the sensors we used in the light poles, you can also see them with the symbols here, were newly developed. We had a tendering process. We choose 6 companies from different countries, 3 already established companies and 3 startup companies. And each company had a different task, for example, parking dot detection, air quality detection, and so on. And we distributed all these sensors on the lampposts, and we are collecting this data, monitoring this data, and trying to work with this data. And then we have external interface or gateway, and we have data, for example, from the German weather service, because this is of interest if you want to analyze the use of bikes or sharing bikes, and you want to check if there's a relation to weather, for example. Now, this is in brief what we did and what we set up. And then I want to talk about experiences we did and what we are going to do in the upcoming month and years. I already mentioned it before. For us, it was a gift that we had a limited space, limit of time, and limit of contents to start working and setting up a monitoring system, because if you have to set up such a monitoring system for the whole city right away, Munich has almost 1.6 million inhabitants, then it's a quite big task, and failing is definitely no option. So I also already mentioned that having a transparency dashboard is very important, because we really want to play with open cards. We really want to gain the trust of our citizens, and the transparency dashboard, each citizen can check, look up what data we are collecting, see what we are doing with the data, why we are collecting it, and so on. And then something that might be clear to many of us, but what is not clear to colleagues of administration, if you're talking about that, provision of digital monitoring data requires resources. First of all, you have to find the relevant questions you want to ask, and then you can go and see what data you need and how you can get the data. So this is an experience we made. It's not that easy to really find the relevant questions you want to know and then get the data you need. Then technical implementation obviously is not for free. And also what I already mentioned is the permanent provision of the data you need. This requires personal resources, time resources, but also financial resources or technical resources. So you really have to think and make a cost benefit analysis and check out what is working for you and what is worth the monitor or maybe not. And then what I already mentioned several times, legal issues with data privacy and data gatekeeper concepts was the approach we chose to make sure that different groups of the administration, citizens, for example, or private companies have different access to the data. They can view the data, they can download the data and can work with the data and so on. So there were different access rights for different people. And then obviously, if you have digital data, you monitor data, the added value becomes or is created because you mix the data. A colleague of mine always compares it with brewing beer. If you have water, hop, and malt itself as ingredients, you don't have any added value. But if you mix it together, then the added value is created. In the one case, you have beer. In the other case, you have more valuable data, which you can use for new ways of communication. We have so many things, for example, going on in the city that my boss says she doesn't understand it anymore. She wants something that she can look at and she can understand what is going on. So this is for expert, but also you can use this data if you visualize the data and so on, or you have a dashboard for energy monitoring like Ivo showed us. You can use it also for the communication with non-experts, with citizens, and so on. And then we see obviously the efficiency aspect of monitoring data and data-driven decisions, and also we see the increase or potential increase of quality of urban planning in general if we release or if we rely on data, but our explicit approach is that we don't or only rely on data. There are many other parameters you have to include into your decisions. And then the cultural change is very important. This will be a task, a challenge we will face the upcoming years for sure in Germany. Also, there are differences in the approach to open data or dealing with data in general within Germany. But in Munich, this is definitely an issue where we have to talk a lot with colleagues, make events, workshops, and so on, and demonstrate with very specific examples out of the areas or out of the areas where people are working in, out of their departments, where they can see the added value of modern monitoring and the use of data or open data. So this is one challenge we are facing, and we are doing this among other in the two projects I mentioned below. We have one project running for 2 years almost now, which is called Digital Urban Twin. This is from another department, but we are collaborating very closely in this. This is basically what you can see in Google. If you're driving around in Google in the city of Munich, the only difference is we have the same data, but it's our data because we do a regular recording of the whole city of the data. And what you can do in this digital twin, you don't only have, let's say, the photography of the city, but you can you have all the single objects within the city in this digital twin. So, for example, street lights, single houses, trees, and so on. And you can connect data to these objects, and you can do queries, and you can obviously do simulations and so on. So this is a basic work that is still done. And then we have this other project that is called CUT, Connected Urban Twins, for integrated urban development, I would say. This is in German, I apologize for that. This is a project funded by the German Ministry of Internal Affairs, and Munich applied together with the city of Hamburg and Leipzig to it. And the goal of the city of this project is, on the one hand, to develop open hardware and software standards for digital twins, for Germany at least, or Europe. This is the clear expectation from the ministry towards the three cities. And on the other hand, to develop standards for urban development, or let's say challenges of urban development we are all facing, which is climate change. What Henrik just mentioned in his presentation is pretty much the same case for us in Munich. And this will be one topic we are trying to bring into this digital urban twin and try to create an added value. And the other thing is about social infrastructure planning, that is planning for elderly homes or kindergarten and so on. So we have different challenges we want to bring from urban development into the digital urban twin. Obviously, we need a data hub for this, and we will spend a lot of time, or we will have to spend a lot of time in the representation of data on a dashboard, on visualization, on simulation, and so on. So we started 6 years ago with this monitoring, and we are now evolving to a more and more sophisticated system of monitoring and not only collecting data, but also working with data and representation of data and so on. And we are closely collaborating with universities in these questions. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Felix, for this case of a part of Munich. And my immediate first question would be, so what do you expect actually? When can this be transferred for the whole city?
What I showed you from Smarter Together will stay with Smarter Together, because the strategy is now the digital twin and the project we have. There are other projects around this digital twin and the data hub that is below this digital twin. But the monitoring was, let's say, a very important first step we did. And out of this whole project of Smarter Together evolved a preliminary version of digital twin, and now we are the preliminary version of the digital twin was more focused on energy only, and now this is going to be the digital twin of the city we have, and connected with data and the possibility to do queries and so on for the whole city.
So plenty work ahead in the upcoming years. One more question came in regarding the monitoring, especially for the mobility stations, and what are the results there? Are they in high use so far?
Yes and no. The question is a bit difficult, because so far we have mobility stations in the city of Munich, but only in the city center. And the project area was chosen to be almost on the outskirts of the city. So the density of population and so on is really low there in comparison to the center of the city. So I would say, or we would say, yes, the use of car sharing and bike sharing, especially of e-bike sharing, is pretty high. It depends on on the location of the mobility station. Obviously, it's right next to a public transport station. The usage is way higher, the number of rentals, but there's not so much experience, to be honest, with the number of rentals in the outskirts of the city or of the town. But I would say it's a pretty good number.
Thank you. Okay, so we would come to our discussion forum, to the end of this webinar with all the presenters. So please, all presenters, stay with me here on the panel, and would be nice if you put on your camera so I can come back to the one or the other for some questions. Maybe we start with one issue related to the monitoring of the smart city developments, and this is probably based on some core objectives of the cities. And what actually is the main driving force behind? Is it energy consumption, so economic reasons, or is it environmental issues? Is it the need for better services? So what core objectives made your city to go this path and to monitor in this direction? Who would like to start? Actually, it was not Benno, sorry, this was for the discussion and not for the participants, but of course they can also answer in parallel to this. So we have the poll for the participants, but I would like to hear also in the discussion now from the panelists. Henrik, would you like to start? You were the first, actually, to present your case of Aarhus, the transition to the green city. What was the driving force in Aarhus?
Well, the driving force was was a clear political ambition of taking responsibility for the global warming. and a political vision of creating a carbon neutral society by 2030. And that has actually been the greatest driver and the force when you talk climate mitigation and green transition, and thereby also, of course, monitoring the process of achieving that target.
Thank you very much. Juris, what about Riga in this respect?
Yeah, I think in our case, and also it's just maybe my opinion, that the main driving force is the necessity of data monitoring, collection, evaluation for the data-driven governance decision making. Maybe because the collection of data maybe all the time can help to make a decision that is more realistic to the existing situation from one side, and from another side, I believe that this information, as a data collection, also can help maybe in a work of awareness raising of the society, of communication with the different stakeholders about the different processes, about the different needs of the city, yes, in this changeable time. Yeah.
Thank you. And in Jelgava, Ivo, what was the driving force in Jelgava city?
I have to, sorry, I was a little steps away. Can you repeat the exact question?
It was a question about the main objectives for the cities to go this path and to monitor the smart city developments. So what was the driving force in Jelgava to go that way?
Yeah, to be, one is political, to be more with people, to get information from the people, and to give information to the citizens. This is, I would say that, like, overall, but practical is actually it's through all the time is where do we have a problem? This is what for we need the data, because we can assume that we have a lot of problems and a lot of places where to do some developments. But data analysis and data gathering, the main driving force is to specify, to find, to analyze, and to find the objects where we should do and what.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Sanne, how about CESIS in this respect?
Yeah, our driving force is from our politicians because they ask for data to be able to make decisions that is based on information, not on emotions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And finally, in Munich, what's the situation or the background there?
Well, it's I'm working for the sub-department of climate neutral and smart cities, so we see a close connection between both. And we as administration and my sub-department, we were the driving force behind the resolution of the City Council last year in November for an action framework, smart city action framework. And within this action framework, we referred to the Smart City Charter of Germany's Smart City Charter. And within this Smart City Charter, it's clearly stated that smart city and technology, what we are all using, is a tool to save resources, natural resources, to raise quality of urban life, increase security, inclusion, and so on. And this was the main reason, I would say, or is the main reason that we say we do not only want to make do smart city, put up a lot of sensors and screens for monitoring and so on, because this is itself not energy or resource saving. So we want to have clear measures, and we want to be able to report to the city council, we did this and that, and these are the costs we have, and this is what we save. Because a smart city for us is only smart city if we have less energy use than we had before. So this is, I would say, basically the motivation.
Okay, and a follow-up question to this, actually, of course, all the ambitions the cities might have, and the possible projects at the end means certain investments. Henrik mentioned a number for Aarhus for this transition. So is there a cost-benefit analysis related to these main objectives now? So within these monitoring and within using the evaluation of the data. Maybe we start the other way around and stay with Munich and then go back. So the cost-benefit analysis.
Not yet, to be honest, not yet. We wanted to take part in a project, in a funded project, which was not accepted, the proposal at the end, but about the value of urban data. It would have been of great interest to us, but it didn't happen. But so far, we don't really have cost-benefit analysis, but it's among our goals.
Thank you. Sanne?
Like I said in the presentation, that I work about just 3 months. Therefore, no, there are no cost benefits yet.
Okay, thank you. So we're moving to Ivo.
Yeah, energy management system in it's every decision in the system and or based on the system shall be related to cost benefit analysis, and maybe not directly in financial terms, but in the end of the day it's in financial terms. Every solution of the existing problem shall be answered via, do we have enough energy saving in terms of euros to cover costs of this problem solution. So yes, we are doing cost benefit analysis for all the time, I would say, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And we're moving to Riga, Juris.
Yes, I would like to mention that, yes, sure, we implement cost-benefit analysis, but I believe more for some specific projects. If we are talking about the whole strategic monitoring system, right now, I believe no, and probably it will be the task maybe for the new development program period, and also maybe for the improvement of the strategic management system as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Henrik from Aarhus.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we're doing a lot of cost benefit, but the green transition is a hyper complex program. So we do cost benefit on a lot of different levels. At one end, for instance, in energy optimizing our own buildings in the municipality, we have a cost benefit scheme where we look at return of investment, very specific. But in the other end, we have initiatives about educating and re-educating the public in understanding the climate crisis and so on, and that is very hard to monitor and make a business cases on, but we have business cases on all initiatives, and we try to handle this hyper complex set of goals.
If I can add something, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
I would like to emphasize what Henrik just said, because it's the same with us. Obviously, if we're talking about the building sector and the city of Munich there's a lot of construction because many people moving in. We have cost benefit analysis, and but as you just said, for example, educational measures, and there are many other measures like increasing the quality of public space and so on. This is hard to measure in money. So monitoring is a really complex task, I would say. It's not just about money.
Yeah, definitely. And this leads to my final round of a question for all the panelists. Actually, what about the stakeholders, the citizens, and the engagement in the monitoring process? So besides, as you said, cost-benefit analysis, we heard in the different presentations for some processes with stakeholder engagement and so on. Could you summarize maybe what's the main stakeholder engagement in the monitoring in your city? Let's do a new mix now. We'll start with Juris.
Yes, so basically, I think in our case, yes, sure, it's online and offline questionnaires. It's face-to-face survey, yeah, and of course it's different kind of the meetings. Yes, face-to-face meetings with the representatives of the non-governmental institutions who represent their neighborhoods. And also, yes, probably organizing some thematical meetings with the stakeholders, maybe going to the neighborhoods and speaking maybe at some specific development places, etc. Probably yes, meeting and face-to-face communication. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Felix, how about in your project?
I would say interaction with the citizens. There was in the last month or years an increasing will to do more interaction with citizens in general, and also to try new ways of interaction online, or a mix of face-to-face and digital methods. Maybe if you have a big table and you can show maps, do some simulations, easy stuff. And then we had municipal elections in spring this year, and with the new government, these intentions are enforced. So interaction with citizens will be part of the project. We will start the CUT project. It will be a big part of it. But I personally am not really involved in this so far, but I'm really looking forward, because with CUT, for example, there's an obvious need to check out new ways of citizen participation.
Yeah, thank you. Sana, how about if you have some insights on that already?
So for us, we need to understand actually what communication would be the best. But for now, we provide learning for data analysis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the issue of educating and competence training was also raised several times, actually also from Ivo. So how about other stakeholder engagements?
Yeah, there are like very many stakeholders that are, as I mentioned already in the presentation, but there are different levels. One is information flow from or into buildings about consumption. This is like almost on daily basis, because there are different questions and different information. Then other part of communication is with the city government, with major and all the highest management. This is going on, I would say, like twice per year, or maybe 3 times per year. This is like in form of presentation plus form of asking questions to the city budget about funding of need of solutions needed. And there is one more outgoing flow of information. This is for citizens, about results and about some numbers of the city government to do what to do and what was done and what is achieved in the energy management. So very different flows, but we are. I believe doing them all what's needed, but still some improvements always necessary.
Yeah, thank you. Henrik, you said that this is a very complex endeavor in its own. So what would you say was the focus here on the stakeholder engagement?
You can't do enough. and there's not one size that fits all. You need to have an open mind and adapt your involvement with the different types of stakeholders. We have all sorts of engagement. In the one end, we have open data platform where companies and citizens can use data and try to use them in different ways. And on the other hand, we have one-to-one meetings with NGOs and a lot of things in between that. For instance, we have a mixed board of sustainability that have both representatives from the city council and the citizens and the university and the companies in the city. So we have a wide variety of different types of engagement. And well, I think my point would be that it's very important, but you cannot make one size fit all, and you need to adapt it all the time. For instance, here in COVID-19 times, we have transformed our physical engagement meetings and large hearing meetings from being physical to becoming digital, and actually it goes quite well. And actually, it turns out that we actually reach stakeholders and especially parts of the public that we didn't reach before, because now people actually can go to a meeting from their home. Yeah. And if you have kids and a busy everyday life, it might actually be a better solution than meeting up physically.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's so interesting to discuss these questions with 5 real cases here, 5 cities. That has been a very interesting webinar and discussion with you. I would like to give Nika the final word for our today's session. Before I do so, just one more question to the participants about the relevance of this webinar for you personally. So it should come up in a minute. Here it is. And of course, we will continue this series next week. On Thursday will be the second one in this series. It's on the focus of transport, so monitoring and evaluation transport sector. Yeah, that looks very good. Wow, 100% honest, hopefully honest answers here. Okay, so thanks from my side already, all the speakers, to all the participants, to the fruitful exchange, and I hand over to Nika.
Yeah, so thank you again, everyone who participated today in our webinar. Special thanks to all speakers for those inspiring presentations of different cases. And in conclusion, I was thinking what would be the most appropriate to say, and there is one thing what I shall mention, that in a parallel to our event, Latvia today is hosting a large international 5G conference with over 500 participants participating online via LinkedIn network. And I'm mentioning this because today to the audience, there was a very similar question asked about smart cities. And the question was asked to the audience of 500 as I said, attendees, and a question on why the cities are collecting, analyzing, evaluating smart cities data. What are the main purposes? Actually, the majority of audience voted for the answer that first of all, the core goal for this is safety and security of our citizens from all kinds of perspectives, starting from energy security, security against flood, and all other aspects of physical security in urban environment. And only then, as the next core targets were such targets as greening our cities, fostering innovations, and several other mentioned. So I want to conclude that we are doing it all for our cities and for our city residents. And I have heard it today also in your presentations. Actually, Felix said it very clearly in his statement about the purpose of analyzing, collecting and analyzing the data. So you mentioned security. Well, other speakers said it between the words, but this was useful. It was a great exchange experience among different cities, which are at a different stage of developing their cities as smart cities. So thank you once again to everyone for being part of our discussion and exchange today. And yeah, I wish you good luck in our work to make Europe greener, smarter, and more climate friendly. Thanks.
Thank you, Nika, and bye-bye to everybody, and have a nice afternoon, and hopefully see you next Thursday.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.